This really, I mean, the question of what makes a Singaporean choose to be Singaporean.
Yeah.
And as you know, Mr. Rajaratnam said, being Singaporean is not ancestry, but choice and conviction.
Yes.
And he meant it in a very specific way, though, not the choice like where do you want to be, what do you want to make, where do you want to make your home, how do you decide what nationality. He meant it so in a specific way to say the commitment to Singapore, being Singaporean to him, and he said being Singaporean means forgetting all else in your commitment to Singapore.
Well, I think forgetting all else is a very tall order. Mr. Rajaratnam believed in it. He was an idealist. He himself held that uppermost. For, as I explained, for many people, being Singaporean is important, but it may not be the most important part of your identity. And we have to accept that that's the way people are. That's the way Singaporeans are. And so, you don't necessarily wake up every day and say, well, just as I say my daily prayers or mantra, every morning I don't stand up and recite the pledge to myself. We're Singaporeans, right? But it's just one aspect of my identity, and I have to decide how important I want that to be. For the first generation, for Raja's generation, in the early years, when he said it's choice and conviction, what were the choices? Either you decide to stand up and fight for the kind of Singapore which we believed in, which comes back to one united people regardless of race, language, or religion, or you choose to, nowadays they will say tang ping, lie flat, meaning I accept whatever happens to me. There are other powers, other influences which say this is the way you should be and you should do my bidding. I just accept that and I just accept my fate. That's a choice. Well, it's a choice to do nothing, but it's a choice. So for that generation, the choice was stand, fight, build. Now, this generation is the beneficiaries of the stand, fight, and build. What is the choice? It's still one. And the choice is, do I decide to continue this and continue the mission which was really passed to us, which made this place like this, and keep on making it better? Or do I say, thank you very much, this is marvelous, you've provided me wings, I'm flying, bye-bye. I'm off to, it can be San Francisco, it can be Sydney, it can be London, it can be Shanghai, it can be Bengaluru. And I'll be okay, and I hope you'll be okay too. That's a choice too. So there will be people around the world, and it's a reasonable choice, and we hope that they come back one day. I think quite a good number will. But we also hope that there will be many who will say, you are here, we build this place, I inherited it, I have a duty to hand it on better to the next generation. And the next generation will include not just our children, but also other people who have come to Singapore and made a very conscious choice that they identify with us, they subscribe to our ideals, our values, and they want to make this their home. And that's a very big decision to make. And so I think for this generation too, it has to be choice and conviction. If you just so happen to be here, and tomorrow the wind blows, puff, and you are blown off, well, tomorrow you won't be here, and Singapore won't be here.
So there's a certain set of values and core values that we all sort of must subscribe to and feel strongly for. That's why we're here.
You must have some conviction in how we do things in Singapore, what we are trying to achieve in Singapore, what we can rely upon in each other, and how we can make the country go forward. You have to believe that it is possible for us to work together, that we can solve problems. You can't change the world, but you can find a way for Singapore to find its path forward. And in Singapore, you can do that. And if you are in Singapore and you want to make a difference, you can make a difference. If you are in a big country with 1,000 million people and you want to make a difference, it's much harder.
Asam, can I ask you a little bit to your previous point about our different identities, and to end with this specific point about the choice. So given that we have different identities, I'm not just Singaporean, I'm Chinese, and race and ethnicity are very powerful forces, as you say. Mr. Rajaratnam's idea of choice is choosing to forget some part of our identity. And when he said forget, he didn't mean it in the way of not knowing. He meant subordinating it to the Singaporean identity. So he said in his lifetime, he had no difficulty forgetting that he was Tamil Ceylon, that he was Sri Lankan, even though he had been born there. He had no difficulty forgetting that he was Malayan, even though most of his family was still there. He had no difficulty forgetting that he fought the communists or communalists. And he forgets because he does this in the service of being Singaporean. So I wonder whether you think today we are able to do this now, this forgetting of different parts of identity and sort of holding the nationality superior, and whether that will help in the ethnic and other polarizations that may occur.
It's an ideal. Every time we recite the national pledge, especially on National Day, you remind yourself that we should work towards that ideal. But realistically, we also know that race and religion are very, very powerful forces and very, very important to people. I will not ask for a show of hands, but if you ask yourself, do you consider, which element of your identity do you consider the most important? Your nationality, your race, your religion, your country of origin or country of birth, or your language which you speak? IPS did a survey recently. Only about more than a third put as their most important element of their identity nationality, Singapore. And the other 2/3 put something else. It's the way people are. And therefore, this is always going to be a tension. Because actually, we don't want all of us to forget that we're Chinese or Christians or Buddhists, or neither do we want to forget our mother tongues. We want to keep those parts of our identity. They are important to us. They give us a sense of history. We didn't poof and come into being in 1965. And not even in 1950, or I don't know, if you're very old, maybe 1945. Yes. We go back to ancient civilizations, ancient faiths, and they are part of us. And therefore, and in that sense, they give us a sense of ballast. I've been here a long time too. You may be 300 years as a great country, but my civilization is not younger than you. So I want to keep that. I want to keep the links it therefore gives us with the region, because the region is mostly, we have Muslim populations in Malaysia and Indonesia, our neighbors. I want to keep the links with China or Taiwan or Hong Kong, because we speak their language, we're familiar with their culture. I want to keep the links with South Asia, with India, even with Sri Lanka. And yet, I don't want to be co-opted by them and be subsumed by them, or follow what is happening there, regardless of what it means to Singapore.
Me and Prof. Leong, on the topic of identity today, who we think we are shapes what we do, and I think the reverse also holds. What we do also forges who we think we are. So my question is, what are some things that worked in Singapore in the past that we should be keep on doing, and what are some things in the past that should be reformed or left behind? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Senior Minister Lee and Associate Professor Leong. My name is Miranda. I'm a first-year MPP student at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. My question is, Minister, I am a young foreigner in Singapore. I'm Indonesian, by the way. From your perspective, what aspects of the Singaporean identity and values would you like young foreigners like me who are living here to always remember and bring with us and uphold in our lives? And why do you think this is the most important? Thank you.
Sorry, I can't catch that question. Can you explain what you mean?
So I mean that as a foreigner living in Singapore, of course we want to learn something from the Singaporean identity and the values that you uphold here. In your opinion, what is the one thing that we should always remember about the Singaporean identity and value that you hope we always bring with us wherever we go next, or if we choose to go home to our home countries?
Okay. First of all, is life harder now than before? I think the competition is more visible. If you are in China, they call it 内卷. That means excessive, intensive competition. Hence, you have 996, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days of the week, as well as 24/7. So there is fierce competition. The opportunities are there. It's not true that there are no more ideas waiting to be exploited. Just in the last few years, AI suddenly has become hot and exciting. Deep mind, deep seek. These are things which 5 years ago none of you or I would readily have known about. But it's suddenly come up, and I don't think that's the end of progress. So the opportunities are there. You have to work at it. Others are also competitive and capable and well-educated, but you have options. You're quite young, so in your parents' generation, I think that the living conditions, definitely prosperity-wise, the level was much lower. Opportunities, education-wise, fewer were able to go to university. And now you are able to do things your parents could never dream of doing. Now people say, I'm going to go and do a gap year. I never knew what a gap year was. None of my generation thought like that. People say, I got a long weekend, I'm off to, let's say Phuket or Bali or Hong Kong, or maybe somewhere further away, spend 2 or 3 days of chill, work-life balance. Well, work-life balance is important. Sometimes you should chill. But these are options which you have, which your parents didn't have. With nothing they could build. With all this, please do something. You can do it. National identity, what we do affects our identity. That's very true. The way we have built the society, the way we have socialized our young, the way we have brought the different groups together and got people to compromise and work with one another, and to give and take, to know that this is not a Christian society, this is not a Muslim society, this is not a Buddhist society, and therefore you operate in a different way than you would if you were in Thailand, or you were in the Middle East, or you were in, I don't know, somewhere in Europe. I think These are adjustments which have helped Singaporeans to become what they are and made us more strongly Singaporean. That's why Singaporeans are recognizably so, and when you see one, you see him overseas, you kind of know he's one before he opens his mouth. Just by looking at him, the way he carries himself, the way he interacts with other people, there is something distinctive about him. It comes from us having lived together and made the accommodations and become similar to one another. And it's something which we should keep on doing. That's why a Chinese Singaporean is different from a Chinese from China. Likewise for an Indian Singaporean, likewise for a Malay Singaporean. And they will still, Chinese, Indian, or Malay Singaporeans still have different perspectives, different, not quite identical ways of looking at the world, but what they have in common is important and is growing. And we have to keep on doing that.
He did ask, though, what should we do different? The sacred cows question. What have we done in the past that we should no longer do?
What should we do different? Well, one thing which people ask us to do different, and we haven't decided to do that, is to say, let's pretend that we're all the same. And say, I will not ask whether you're Malay or Chinese or Indian. I will not ask whether you're Muslim or Buddhist or whatever. And I will just treat you as Singaporean, and I will collect data, Singaporeans, for how are you doing, and then I will gloss over these differences. We have not gone that way because we don't believe it works. The French have tried that. It has not worked well for them. And if we don't acknowledge the reality of the differences, I think we only push the problem under the surface. I think over the years we have made adjustments which have in fact gone the other way in order to allow people to express themselves more in their ethnic, religious identities rather than less, and to acknowledge that we are different from one another, which previously I think sometimes we would not do. For example, on your NRICs, we encourage you can put your name down in your original script, whether it's Chinese or Tamil or you want to do it in Jawi, you can do that. It's an acknowledgement that I can't force you into one mold, and I don't want to force you into one mold. I think we have to keep on making that adjustment, that balance, and sometimes we want to push a bit more towards accommodating differences. Sometimes you want to say, let's try to be a bit less spiky in our differences.
Yeah. So it's a balance between the common space.
It's always a balance. Yeah. Then the question is,
what about Singapore that we would like international students to bring home with them? Or what about the Singapore identity?
Well, I think I would like you to think that this is a place which is not bad, but trying to get better. I would not like you to think that this is a place which has solved all its problems and this is how the world should be. I mean, even for Singapore, we haven't solved all of our own problems, much less solve other people's problems. But we are doing not bad.
That
so
is
many
such
things we
a
can
Singaporean
improve.
answer.
No, that's a very important part of being Singaporean.
Very much so.
Because if you don't think that you can do better and you don't try to do better, then I think you'll stop improving.